Hi everyone. Today's lesson is to find products and quotients of real numbers. When you multiply or divide rational numbers with the same sign, your answer is always positive. Always, always, always. When you multiply or divide integers with the opposite signs, your answer is always, always negative. If you have 2 times 3, what we're actually doing is putting in 2 sets of 3. 1, 2, 3. There's one set. 1, 2, 3. There's the other set. Our signs are both positive. Our answer then is positive 6. If we change this a little bit, let me get rid of these, and instead use 2 times negative 3, our signs are going to be opposite. 2 times negative 3 means we're putting in 2 sets of negative numbers, negative 3. So our answer is actually going to be negative 6. You need to be very careful when you're multiplying or dividing by more than 2 real numbers at a time. Your signs are going to change as you progress from left to right. A negative times a negative is going to be a positive. Times a positive will give you a positive answer. Times another positive will give you another positive. And finally, times a negative would give you a negative answer in this case. If there is an odd number of negatives, your answer will be negative. Conversely, if you have an even number of negatives, your answer will be positive. The quotient of 0 and any non-zero real number is 0. Okay, so that means 0 divided by any number is going to equal 0. And keep in mind that the opposite of division is multiplying. So in order for something to work, we have to be able to multiply it backwards. And in this case,
please call the main office.
we have 0 times a is going to be equal to 0. Down here, 0 divided by negative 3 is equal to 0. And we can say 0 times negative 3 is equal to 0. The quotient of any non-zero real number, and 0 is undefined, which means if your number is on the top and 0 is in the denominator, your answer is going to be undefined, and that's what you write. This is particularly important when we start working with slope. The reason for that is that there is no number that you can put here that we can multiply by 0 by that's going to give us an answer other than 0. So anytime 0 is in the denominator, you cannot answer it. It is undefined. The inverse property of multiplication says for any non-zero real number, a, there is a multiplicative inverse, 1 over a, where a times 1 over a is going to be equal to 1. The reciprocal of any non-zero real number, a over b, is b over a. You flip it. I know you're familiar with that term. The product of any real number and its reciprocal is 1. Therefore, the reciprocal of a number is also its, I'll give you a moment, multiplicative inverse. The words are pretty interchangeable. We use reciprocals when we divide real numbers. Okay, and here's how we can show dividing real numbers or fractions. 3/4 in the numerator divided by 2/16 in the denominator. It can be written this way as well. And we can also write it out as 3/4 divided by 2/16. Remember, when you divide fractions, you multiply by the reciprocal. So 3/4 divided by 2/16 becomes 3/4 times 16 halves. I'm going to rewrite it in a way you're more familiar with. Okay. We can reduce 16 halves to 8/1, and then we can cross cancel. 4 goes into 4 one time, 4 goes into 8 twice, and then multiply straight across. 3 times 2 is 6, 1 times 1 is 1, and our answer is 6. One other thing I wanted to note was we've covered square roots already. And we said the square root of 9 is both 3 and -3. When you just have the square root sign, though, we use the positive answer. Now you're going to start seeing a negative out in front of it. When you see this sign, it means that you give the negative answer. Okay, you just don't make a big deal of it. Just take that negative sign and put it in front of your answer. Okay, you still figure out the square root the same way. You may also see this sign. Combination of a plus and minus. And again, same thing. If this is out in front of the square root sign, for now we're just going to carry it over and put it out in front of our answer. Keep it simple. Don't make it more difficult than it is. We have time for that.